All right. We are the recording. We have returned for our meetings of the Sunday. Yes, indeed. So, notes for myself, or I guess for the peeps here. Bit of a time crunch on myself, so I will have to head out early. But let's see if we can't get as much as we can within that time frame. Let's see here. Let's go off the topics that we need to hit first. No major updates from my end. Still working on stuff, so mostly just topics, I believe. Let's see. Da, 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 da. I'm blind. I am trying to find the thing. Ah, yes. Um, so for the upkeep, that is to occur on the first Sunday of next month, which is next week, the 3rd of March. Um, that's when the new upkeep phase will begin. All the upkeep stuff will start dropping, all that good stuff. Um, we are doing the test of upkeep every 3 months. So the first Sunday every 3 months should be Gouda. Um, let's see here. In terms of payment, since I know there's some questions of that regard. Excuse me. I just had breakfast and it's a little gurgly. Um, benefits should kick in. I know previously they're set to be you pay for them and then it applies for next phase. That's how they were intended. Um, that's caused confusion. I want to get people's opinions on that. Should we continue with that setup, or
I've
should
got a
we?
few questions regarding that, so I did a write-up in Econ, not sure if you saw it, basically for how to do this. The World Anvil has the basic rules on how upkeep is intended to function.
I have not seen that one yet. No, I still have my two ats in my direction in the economy team chat. Go and bring up the upkeep rules though. Any other thoughts why they type up their follow up? Let's see, upkeep. Okay.
So my first question is, do you want upkeep to be something people can pay at any point during the 3 months?
I think for ease, it should be paid for within the first 2 weeks, just so we can just like get that stuff finished and cleared out as quick as we can. Um, because we do it with any point within the next 3 months, then that can cause some issues and like tracking stuff. So if it's within 3 months or first 2 weeks, then all those can be applied, all the benefits can be applied, all that good stuff.
Can we just tie it with the conclusion of a time period then?
I mean, for us to do that, we would have to not have every 3 months. And we're eventually going to be shifting
No,
downtime
let me
to.
type out what I mean.
All right. Because right now, the only reason we're not doing downtime every X months as well is because of the backlog that we're dealing with. Otherwise, we'd be putting that one in a guaranteed time as well. I can see that, but that can also give us, oh hey, our next downtime up time regression drop is a week thereafter. So it would vary from it's happening within a week to it's happening within like a month or so. So there's a lot of variance. We just do it guaranteed 2 weeks you have. It's the middle ground.
I mean, there isn't much connection between the upkeep phase and the downtime phase, anyway. The only thing that connects them is comfort. Like, that is literally it.
Yeah.
You may gain additional days from comfort.
Also, downtime, or upkeep specifically, I would consider one of the easiest downtime selections if you're considering it like a downtime form of work. It's one of the easiest things because you really just have to be like, you're approved. Cool, thumbs up. The only one where it'd be a little weird is if you have one that has a choice, which I don't believe a lot have a choice right now. They're mostly just like, this is the one you select, here's the benefits, here's the cost. So there's not too much really required to go about that. The only thing you really need to check to make sure is that they are paying the appropriate cost. Or that they list that their payment is, that they paid X towards their total cost, and then that's as long as the numbers are right, then you just can thumbs up.
Yeah, we have the upkeep sheet. We can literally just find the person, check their sheet from there, check if they have enough money, and just say yes or no.
I mean, if we wanted to be a 4-week period for people to be able to pay, that's fine too. I don't think it should be tied to time progression because there is a lot of variance there. And the reason why we're going for every 3 months is so people have a set in time, this is what's going on.
If we give them 4 weeks...
a valid point in that it could be sooner than the 2 weeks.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pris.
The more time we give them, the more people will just do it at the last day.
I mean, I know myself, I would probably, if I was a player and I was using upkeep, I'd probably procrastinate until the last day. I'm sure we have a decent number of procrastinators in the living world.
Most downtimes, I have procrastinated until the last day. Hello?
Yeah. Yes. However, there is a reason why it's not that much of an issue, because if someone does procrastinate, the reason why we have the upkeep lifestyle listed on character sheets is so if someone doesn't submit or anything like that, we can just look at what their submission is on there. So if they're like, just use my default, their default's on their character sheet. Now, if they don't pay it, that's another story. But I think generally, I believe all defaults are listed out at the level that costs 0 to pay for, just so people don't have to worry about it. Or they can just change it to that, so they don't have to worry about it. Additionally, I'm going to be working on some new ones this week, so
Okay,
then when
a few more questions on this.
Yeah.
So when someone's paying upkeep, is this more akin to them paying off a tab, or them paying in advance?
What do you mean?
Essentially, when do they gain the upkeep benefits?
The upkeep benefits are gained on
Like-
the next upkeep. So the ones that people
That's
paid for
kind of-
last time, they get now. That's how it's written currently.
Yeah. Let's change it to they just gain the benefits until the end of next upkeep. So they gain benefits immediately. And they don't have to track what benefits they are
Give me
gaining
a second.
after 3 months.
Please
Yeah.
wait.
Wait,
No, I refuse to wait. Move faster.
Okay, what I mean isn't even the benefits stuff.
Are you talking about the flavor for it? I'm in favor of the benefits being applied right away as well. It just simplifies things, and we're trying to simplify our systems because there's been a lot of complaints about overly complicated systems. But I'm curious what Lexi means by paying off tab or paying in advance, because I mean, if it's just flavor, then it's whatever really the players want it to be. Are they paying a tab? Are they paying their rent? Are they paying XYZ?
I'm asking if the intent behind upkeep is that, for example for lifestyle, is it they're paying for their stuff in advance, so once they pay they now have access? Or is it that they've had access before, but now are paying that off, and if they fail they get debt? It's not the flavor necessarily.
It is essentially, if you want to look at it in terms of rent, so like if you look at upkeep and rent, the rent column, they are renting an apartment as an example of like modest living. They have to pay 6 GP, bam boom, done, they pay it, they're golden. If they don't pay it, they're in debt. If you want to look at it as taxes, hey, it's the upkeep period for taxes are due, the tax man comes, collect in, you pay it, you don't pay it, you're in debt. It's, I don't, I'm curious as to why there needs to be a specific reason for it. I mean, seems pretty straightforward to me, but also I wrote it, so I'm curious as to why it's what is missing that's causing confusion.
I've always just viewed it personally as rent. So
Not a specific reason, but this basically ties into when debt should be applied, and also I guess the benefits portion too.
I mean, I say if they don't pay their upkeep
Let me
by
write
the
out
due
some
date,
examples, which is why I'm confused.
yeah, if they don't pay their upkeep by the due date, I consider them be in debt. And if they don't pay that by next upkeep, then we might be looking at political.
yay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it'd pretty much just be like bounty hunting or something like that. They're owed
I
taxes.
know, but I need to sound adequately disenthused by this.
Excellent.
Like, look, the IRS is going to get their money one way or another, and at least one keeps your kneecaps.
Depending on who's the debt's owed by, but for upkeep debt, it tends to be owed by the government's region, or the region's government. So it's not too spicy. It's more likely that they'll just garnish your guild wages, most likely, or cause you to spend downtime debt, like we have for some of our criminal punishments. Yeah.
Oh yeah, wait, I know why this is confusing me particularly, which is because we're shifting systems too, and we've only had one upkeep beforehand. But yeah, give me a second to write out my examples.
All right. Well, why you write out your examples, since that's relating more towards the debt side of things, we should discuss the preference towards immediate versus next drop. We've already touched on this a little bit, but again, since I'm limited on time, I don't want to slow things out too much.
I mean, immediate is pretty easy to track.
Yeah, that's what I was
They
thinking.
paid, they have it, that's it. We just have a check mark.
Yeah. Since if we did go to immediate, I'd say that the previous choice would apply instantly as well, because they've already paid for it. They just didn't get the benefits, so we'd give them both. But that's the only weird exception we'd have for this drop, is that they would get 2 drops technically from the ones they paid previously plus the ones now, if we did go immediate. But I want to hear other people's thoughts on that too. See if there's any opposition.
I'm not against it. That being said, should probably definitely make it very, very clear that people will still be getting upkeep benefits from the last upkeep, just because
Yes.
there will probably be some confusion and people not reading
Totally.
or listening.
And also just type it, how exactly that will stack. Just
Yeah.
because some benefits are really weird in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me actually pull up.
I mean, there aren't even that many benefits that would apply. The influence was gained instantly. What
Yeah.
other benefits?
The
are there?
downtime would be gained instantly, so if they would normally gain like 3 downtime days, they would gain 6
But that would
again.
require comfort, though.
They would
And
acquire
because no
comfort,
one
yeah.
has structures, no one gained that benefit. And no one would gain it now because there's still no benefit.
I believe some people have rented buildings with comfort.
I don't believe we have allowed that.
We haven't? Oh, I thought someone was trying to.
No.
Okay.
I think we've
there
allowed
was
people to find buildings to rent instead of in
Mhm.
Yeah.
price point, but we haven't done any comfort stuff yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
As of
So
right
some
now, I think
people,
people
yeah.
are just they're using the upkeep they chose as flavor for I'm going back to my apartment or
Yeah.
No,
my
it's
room,
more.
etc.
There's a cheaper renting version, Pi,
All
versus
right.
travel. Travel's the basis for adventures.
Yeah, again, it's mostly flavor. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm also intending to add some new options. So I know that we've had people who want to be like, I'm a ranger. I don't want to live a wretched lifestyle. I want to live a woodsman's lifestyle example. So I'm going to be adding some new ones for that nature. I'll be working on those this week. So by the time it drops, those will be available. I'll be keeping them very similar in terms of benefit, negative balance. So we won't have to worry too much about, oh my goodness, this one's obviously the best. Though I will post some unbalanced team before I make them live, just so you guys can make sure they're not nerpified.
Honestly, from reading the benefits, most of them wouldn't even apply really because we just don't have things for them. Comfort wouldn't apply. There are things like Wretched has advantage on blending into the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Or like Aristocratic has a higher chance of being mugged in a poor region. But that's just dependent on the RP anyway. So we can just say that you just gain the benefits of the upkeep that you pay for now, because they wouldn't stack in a clear way.
Yeah.
And we did give the influence like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Which would also give more incentive for people to not procrastinate.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Which
as soon as it's paid, they get the benefit.
Which saves economy so much time.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, while Legacy is still typing out, because Legacy did ask about the question about the structure access. Because they would pay the upkeep for their structures, for the anything that they own, or for anything they're renting during the upkeep. Do you want to give them access during those 2 weeks?
They would have access once more as soon as it's paid.
Mm-hmm.
So same system as upkeep. If once it's paid, they have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as the upkeep phase starts, they don't have access until it's paid.
So essentially, you have access until the start of the next upkeep phase.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you just get kicked out of your home for like 2 days until you go to pay your taxes.
Pretty much. I mean, you just don't get the benefits. You still can say that you're there, just you don't get the benefits. Yeah, if you take too long paying, then you'd have to reapply. In terms of, I know there's an upkeep cost for buildings and whatnot. For structures, they already have their costs listed out, so there is a very noticeable difference between buying.
Basically, all my confusion comes from I'm trying to view this as a player. I'm not sure where the distinction is.
So the thing we've been discussing for the top bullet point, am I paying for what benefits I had for the last upkeep phase, or what I choose for this one? Previously, it was for the last upkeep. You're paying for the ones for the next upkeep phase, so you pay them now, and then you get them for next upkeep. We've been talking about changing that to be you pay them, you get them right then and there. Which means from the last upkeep phase, the first one that we had, where the benefits didn't apply till this one, we would give them retroactively. So they'd get both benefits. So if they haven't gained their influence yet for upkeep, we give them that now. If they haven't gained any downtime days, which is unlikely, then we'd give them that now. And I would say just because of the weird wibbly wobblies, if their previous one had negatives, we don't apply them. If they had positives, we apply them. So, for example, if they chose wretched and I don't know, like comfortable, we'd apply all the positives for each one that are unique to that particular one. We just take the most effective, and then we combine them. So, like, wretched gives you the ability to advantage blend in crowds. We just give that to modest for them for this period. While modest gives you, if your comfort level is 20, or you increase your comfort level by 20 any place that you reside, such as any structures, blah 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 blah.
Okay, yeah,
That'd
I
be
think
applied.
I'm seeing where the confusion was from. It's because we didn't start the launch with an upkeep, so our first prototype upkeep a few months ago was retroactive. But if I'm understanding this right, we want in the future to just be paying in advance, right?
Not in
Well,
advance, you just pay it immediately. You pay and get it. That's it.
you pay, you gain access. Yeah. The term you're saying of pay in advance implies that you're paying it and you get it later, which is why we're confused.
That's what we did for the first update.
Yeah, the first one was in
Nothing
advance.
retroactive. It was
Yeah.
paying in advance for it, but we're changing it most likely to
Pay, gain access.
as you pay.
Yeah. Yes. You do not have access until it is paid. It is simple as that. As soon as you pay, you have access.
You're just buying a subscription fee. Like, they're just paying that.
Think like the Game Pass, right? For like Xbox, right? If you don't pay your upkeep, you can't play that game because you didn't pay for it. It's just gone. You now have to pay up to be able to continue.
I know the
We
feels.
just- What if we just literally change upkeep to Game Pass? That's it.
Shut up.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page, just the wording's confusing people. In terms of structures, am I paying for structures that I own at the point of upkeep phase transition? I believe I touched on that while you're typing it up. Just to confirm, though, as soon as the upkeep phase begins, you can then start paying for your new upkeep phases of buildings, of structures. You have until the end of pay period to pay them. As soon as they're paid, you have access once more. And then you have access for them until beginning of next upkeep phase. Rinse and repeat. You do not want access, you stop paying. If it is something that you own, so like a structure that you have built, constructed, formed, purchased, whatever, and it's something that you actively own, if you do not pay upkeep, one, then a debt will accrue for the structure building plot itself. However, for the other portions of the structure per structure rules, no debt will accrue. It's just that particular component doesn't function anymore. And that's per structure rules. Though I believe some components are, you have to pay this regardless, but that's because they have like people who are working the component, so. Essentially, think of a building's plot, a structure plot, as land that you own, and you have to pay the government to make sure that it's still yours. It's your mortgage, your property tax.
Your property tax.
Yeah, it's your property tax. So that one is being paid for. If you stop paying, then well, your land might be taken over. It might be garnished or whatnot.
You gotta put a tax lien on their property.
Yeah, tax lien on the property. That's the right terminology. Um,
And if you don't pay it, it gets foreclosed.
Yeah.
And you have to move.
it's true.
But it gets seized, not foreclosed.
I mean, they're not really gonna do that anyway. Anyways, regardless though, that's only if you don't pay in an upkeep phase and you don't pay it again in an upkeep phase. Basically, we'll give people warnings that their own property might be claimed. The gist of it though is if it's own property, no debt, or if it's own property, debt will accrue. If it's rented property, such as, hey, can I use your structure? I'm paying the influence cost to gain access. No, you just stop paying.
How does this look?
If it's an owned structure for the first set of bullet points you have at the upkeep start, if it's an owned structure, any components that you have not paid upkeep for yet do not have access. They're considered to be disabled per upkeep per structure rules. You have
repair?
a disrepair would be a word for that. Yes. Basically,
Ongoing maintenance.
yeah. Basically, think of it as like you haven't paid your staff to come in for that day to go and work the component. But you still have access to the structure. However, at the end of the upkeep period, so the after 2 or 4 weeks deadline, if it is an owned structure and they don't pay it, debt occurs. And I'd say if they don't do it twice in one period, so or twice in each period, so 2 times in a row or something like that, then we might be considering greater debt or worse. I mean, up to a 2-week vacation. It's more of until they pay. Yeah, if you pay them on time, like even if you prepay them, like I'm paying 3 upkeeps in advance, you don't have to worry about it. Let's see here. I would say the first bullet point of upkeep start, though, you can pay previous lifestyle expenses until the grace period is over.
So the only
That one's
issue
fine.
I potentially see with that is it means people aren't gonna have it usable until staff resolve it, but I guess they can't resolve downtime anyway unless staff are handling it, and those who are planning to use their structures so soon can just prepare their upkeep at the start.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too difficult, so it's literally just a thumbs up on our end.
So we should be fine.
We should be fine.
What were you saying about the keeping lifestyle?
Your first bullet point on upkeep start, that's fine. Yeah, no, they can keep the previous one until the new one's paid for, in which case they lose the previous one and gain the new one, which you have for upon payment. So I'm just saying, yes, looks good. Yeah, I mean, undergoing maintenance works too. Terminology is going to be weird, so. Yeah, I feel like being able to pay on time is pretty easy.
Okay, now the last lingering question now that we have the upkeep steps laid out. What the heck is structure access upkeep? Because I could not find numbers for this.
It's the price listed already.
Is it just fully repaying the 1% in influence?
I'm just bringing up the rules now. Do. Here we go. Weird. Pretty much, yeah, at the moment. I believe with the structures document, there is a clear defined upkeep cost versus the access cost. But essentially, at the moment, yes, there is just you just pay the access cost again. And that is just because if they don't pay it, then they don't have access anymore. If they do pay it, then they have access, and they can pay it whenever. They can pay it even after the upkeep ends. It's just they have it until the next upkeep phase. So if they want it later, that's fine, because access is just saying, "Hey, you with the face, can I use your building?" Oh. And for that particular page, I would update the wording for structure access to be um, only lasts until the beginning of the next upkeep
I think
rather
the
than the
simplest
conclusion.
way is just, once you pay, you gain it until the start of the next upkeep phase.
Yes.
So under ideal circumstances you have 3 months of access.
Yes.
It's not even really an upkeep now that I think about it.
Yeah, no, access
Just
is
that
not
the
really upkeep,
access itself is timed based on upkeep phases.
pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, structure access is just based on upkeep phases. That's how long it lasts. So if you pay for it, like the week before upkeep drops, a new upkeep phase, it's not very effective, but you do you, boo. Anyways, that's an easy clap update to the wording because it says conclusion of the next upkeep phase when it should be beginning of the next upkeep phase. I just read that now, so. All right. Any other confusions, thoughts, questions on this particular subject? Huzzah. All right.
I'm
That-
good. This is clear enough to post something for next week then.
Nice.
Let's check next topics.
Yes. So for the next topic, from looks of it, we have a discussion on the
Okay,
mailing
travel
system,
encounters.
and we also have travel encounters. Yes. I went to yours next because that was the big one for mail system. That's actually before your post there.
Well, let's do JT's first.
Yeah, because it's kind of combined with Skies, which is those two. For mail, this is basically just looking at the system we have in place already. Any pain points we might have. I haven't looked at mail too heavily, so I'm not fully in the loop in this regard. So anyone who does have the knowledge here, anyone who'd like to speak up?
Is Sky here?
Sky's not here
If
now.
not, can
No,
ask JT for any pain points, but mail seems to have been pretty smooth.
The only person currently in voice I think that really handles mail is Priz, but I'm not too sure.
Hello. Well, I mostly handle the economy side of mail, as
Aside
in
from relying
checking
on
the
two people,
price.
Grieyes posting from the form, and Sky sending.
Yeah, I check the economy part, so just do they have money? How many syllables? All of that stuff.
Yeah.
I just post it.
Yeah, I know the update, which is in patch notes work in progress, for sending specifically, that looked good in my mind. Basically just a rule set for those who are wanting to cast sending, which can utilize the mail system, so they can send in the form for us. And there's some more rule sets to it as well. I would go up there to look at it, but I do not remember if
I
that
think
particular
Sky
thing.
wants to move it away from being a lore keeper thing, which does make sense.
Yeah.
But I asked her to get a sub-department layout for it. If she's busy, I can work on that too.
Yeah.
I think any RP qualified person should be able to handle mail. It's
Yeah.
I
mostly
actually
just
wrote a brief prototype for that in Council General.
Yeah. I don't think we need a sub department for this. We just apply it to trading. Keep in mind that we are limited in role counts that we can have, so any new roles that we add is further limiting us. So if we can just apply it to one, such as trading, which is most appropriate, let's just do that.
Well, to be fair, the reason we said about putting sending into mail was because we don't need a channel for sending because that's going to cause more channel bloat,
Yes.
and it's kind of the same thing. And we do have people that are like, well, I don't want to take the lurker role. Like, well, somebody has to break.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the most recent change with mail that happened was a couple days ago. It was we kind of just merged political sendings into the mail form, just for sake of ease.
Mm-hmm.
we still need lore keepers to look at mail just so that people don't do something dumb.
We have
Such as
3
I don't know.
lure keepers, 4 lure keepers.
We have about
I
4
think
lore
that's enough.
keepers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have four lore keepers.
like
Yeah.
what is a lore keeper looking at mail going?
I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe there's something that they don't can't disclose or something. I don't know. I'm not a lore keeper.
if there's
That's
so
more political
mail is
/ general staff.
Fair enough.
mail is players sending mail to
Yeah.
either themselves or like NPCs or something.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything that they shouldn't disclose in it, technically speaking, I'd say that would be political. Just
Indeed.
because if
Yeah.
they shouldn't disclose it, it's probably an agreement
Telling
that their
state
character
secrets.
made.
Yeah.
The big thing with mail system is it's definitely more of a trading political department than it is a lore keepers. Because lore keepers, they are people who make sure that one lore is kept. Hence the name. As well as making sure that the players, the characters are all approved and, those certain things. So they have additional duties than just making sure, like, hey, my missions, this is the layout. Does this seem like it's in lore? Obviously, that kind of coincides with the different region heads, because you guys are all essentially lore keepers too for your region. But I think Sky's request really goes into, hey, can
The
this
general
go to
summary
someone
of this
else?
in lieu of Sky being here. Let's start to transition mail away from lore keep.
Yeah.
I'll poke Sky about that again, but if she's busy I'll post the prototype steps into Econ and we'll start moving it under trading.
Yeah, I can also ask him in like 2 hours because we're playing a game at 4:30 MST.
Understandable.
Yeah, so.
Ideally, we also need some RP people if people want to do mail, like in character.
Yeah.
Like send out actual, mail people, mail carriers.
Yeah, I feel like there's a particular
Already-
Sid subclass that kind of handles with like traveling and whatnot, so I think they could work really well as a player who wants to play as a mail carrier. But I believe Sky's been working on that potentially. Yeah, but if you want for the role playing department to work on that too, definitely would be nice. Any other notes on this particular topic?
Legacy, what you linked, we can just put it under trading, honestly. Just there doesn't need to be a different role.
The less rolls, the better.
Indeed.
Same for channels.
Don't worry about the role stuff, I'm asking about the steps.
Check the mail room.
LMAO.
Yeah, looks fine.
All right. Ka-choo. The last topic that we seem to have, it goes into travel
No, there's
encounters.
not much. Like I said, I had already written out the steps. It's pretty much just needing Sky to sign off on them, then I'll move them to trading.
Yeah, I'll let them know to look at it to see if they can sign off on it. All right. For the last topic we have is travel encounters.
Well, there are also faction reworks, and
Factions rework.
Where's that?
Yeah.
Where's
It's
that?
it's in the GTs. Yeah.
Yeah.
GTs?
Correction needs Fritz's.
Arlog asks, are all factions done?
I don't believe Arlogis's factions are done now. You'll notice if a faction is done if the rewards or the ranks and the rewards tied to them are tied to the different level of rank that you're in. So if the faction just says, here's what you get, your faction package, it's not done.
Basically, we only have the 4 done.
Yeah.
Heresia
5.
will need folks of thumbs. Elderia, I'm working on Templars. So I think only Dolighter and Skysworn are updated.
Seekers and Bruges is done.
I believe all Baruches are done, as well as Doladurs and Skysworn. So it's mostly just Arlogus and some of the others in Elderia.
I do have a question on ranks and rewards, though. Mostly on structures. Because I know right now only Skyzone gives access, like structure access. And the structure access is pretty high quality.
Mm-hmm.
Which I believe should be locked behind a higher rank. Because just giving, what was it, exceptional mine? Just because you've
Oh yeah, the
joined the
Skysworn balancing
Skysone.
thing. Make a thread for that though, let's get through encounters first.
Well, we're already on the topic of factions, so we might as well finish it.
Yeah, essentially, just my suggestion would be, it's fine giving them access, just give them access like slowly. So at the start it would be either average or like fine structures, then maybe higher, and then like slower. It should be a rank reward, not just immediate access to pretty high level things.
Alright. Oh, that's an easy clap addition. I'll just go through the factions that we have already and make sure that they list their different structures and the different ranks you require to gain access to them. It's literally just a bullet point addition, so I'll just go through everyone and make sure they have these structures that they would have access to. Because some of the other factions should have them, we just haven't listed what they would have, so. Like, I know the Sarkhan Seekers should have access to, like, libraries, as an example. I don't know if they have that listed on their page, but they should. So I'll just go through and make sure that they have it based on lore. In terms of multi-factions, it's always been my intention that people can join multiple factions. I know that people have some qualms about that, but the only thing that would say that they couldn't would be a meta reason. So I think as long as we say you have an active faction for benefits, I think that's something we can discuss in more detail. But I don't want
Yeah.
people being like, you can't join multiple factions.
Well, we do need some rules, like we don't want a case of like Coop and Verum getting every single buff and just being like, I'm the prettiest fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a discussion in
Like
Mhm.
there should be some rules like you can only have one activated at a time per long rest or things like that.
Uh, there was some discussion in general chat, just what the people think, and people mostly agree that you should be able to be in several factions, but you can only benefit from one faction,
Yeah.
and you can change it on upkeep. Yeah,
Yeah.
per upkeep. So when you pay upkeep, you just say that this for the next 3 months I'm helping, like I'm working mostly for this faction, so I'm benefiting from
I think
them.
that's an easy clap addition right there.
Like it's not against multiple factions. It's we don't want a case of
Yeah.
Coop happening again.
Should they
Yes.
only be able to
Yeah.
benefit from stuff if they're in the region BTW?
I would say no, because there's certain
No.
factions that are multi-regional.
Yeah.
And people move around a lot, and that
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
disastrous.
Indeed. We don't want to limit people. Basically, keeping it simple as in, this is your upkeep, this is the faction you're benefiting from, cool. Easy clap, done, doom, bam, done. So, for example, if someone were in the Skysworn and, say, the Sarkhan Seekers, and they wanted to be active for the Skysworn for this phase, they
Well,
get all the faction benefits.
multi-regional would let them benefit anywhere, right? But I'm thinking like Skysworn's mine. Are they able to mine from it while in another region?
No, the mine is in.
So, for
Continue.
structures,
Mhm.
those will be listed where the structure is located. So those ones are very specific, and those ones are limited by region. But if we're talking about like the Skysworn's claimant bonus of you gain a +2 factional bonus to one ability score cap of your choice, it doesn't matter what region you're in. You just have that benefit. But if we're talking about like, oh, you have access to a library of superior quality, yeah, the library is in the Skysworn headquarters. You'd have to be in Eldiria for that. So that one is kind of like a exception to the rule, I'd say, and that would be
This
very
stuff
clearly
is just
stated.
innate.
Yes.
Also, so you can gain and use equipment from every faction you join, but the feature buffs don't stack yet?
Yeah, so for the Skysworn, where you have the Vampires of the Swarm, you have the initial faction benefit of, or not faction benefit, just the initial item benefit of this is what the item does. The faction benefits when it applies, so the additional effects wouldn't apply unless it's your chosen faction.
Basically, a player will have to state like at the start of the game, plus in their upkeep, like, hey, I have insert arm bracers or whatever faction signifier they have is what I'm using, not this.
Yeah. And
to show things.
Yeah, and then there's certain factions that will come with starting equipment packages that by their nature are not magical, or at least have some basic magical effects applied to them that are not tied to the faction benefits. So those would still apply as normal. So, there's certain benefits. There is varying levels of power for factions, which does go into player-based factions because we're likely going to be getting one of those soon. If a player is making a faction, it starts off at the weakest level, and they'll have to upgrade said player faction to get it to the levels of, say, the Skysworn, or, say, the Sarkhan Seekers, which goes into spending influence, building prestige, doing quests and the like, basically empowering said faction by doing factional based
Hey,
stuff.
before we're out of time, Nerp Siren brought up we have stuff left over from Wednesday, which are some pretty high priority hot fixes.
Let's hot fix them right quick. Drop them right.
So the one I mostly
Particularly
want to go.
number 12 in Sunday meetings, pit
Yeah.
fighting.
Pit fighting is the most important one because right now there are 6 missions for pit fighting by SP, and with how pit fighting is at the moment, with all the bonuses they get from it, they have nearly zero chance of losing
What
anyone.
bonuses do they have to it?
They have psionic die. They have from fighter. They have a D4 that also
All right,
gets
so for
added
psionic
from
die, mark that one as it can't be used in downtime because it's a one and done feature, I believe, if I remember Sonic Dice correctly.
You have 4 of the dice, and between each pit fighting, they recuperated to get them back.
Gotcha.
So
There was a suggestion to where we just remove most of the bonuses
Yeah.
and just list the bonuses that can be used
Yeah,
instead.
I remember seeing you guys discuss downtime can only be benefited by bonuses that last an hour or longer, which was my opinion way back when as well. So we just hard apply that. So every ability that can be applied, we just list it. Anything that is not listed in that bullet point listing can't be applied.
Also, just shout out to Zyron for doing the math for pit fighting.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
yeah, I already had the
That
calculator
was a
made.
really
And I just
fun
threw it
thread
in
to
there.
read.
I'm glad you enjoyed. It was fun to write.
Yeah. So I think we just indicate what boons, benefits, buffs, etc. can be applied. Anything that's not on that list, no go.
Alright, sounds good.
Yeah, and if there's things such as the citizen classes ability to reroll stuff, that one specifically calls out downtime, I believe, so that one's good to go. But we'll add it to the list. Anything that is on the list, cool. And that should help fix the issue with pit fighting, because it was never intended where one could like stack guidance, which I know is a thing that we've denied for downtime. There's never intended to be able to stack like superiority dies, X dies, Y dies, Z dies, all these other random buffs. So, yeah. I mean, currently there's no way to get master in any skill. You only get master in toolkits. So, it's kind of the DCs are set with that in mind. Within downtime, you only hit these values. So, I think that's an easy clap addition update there, and that should help with the.
And we should refund
profits.
the downtimes, right?
Refund the downtimes unless they want to go back with it. In which case, they're good to go. And they should have access to them immediately. So if they want to resubmit for something else, cool. Don't steal their days.
Of course.
And that goes into the mining of gems as well. I know there was a recent discussion in economy about gems and their costs being absurd. With the update for economy or equipment guide, which I'm working on, I'm somewhat unifying all the gem costs. So all tier 1 gems are going to be very similar within like a couple silver, a couple gold. Same thing with tier 2s, tier 3s, tier 4s. So you're not going to have to worry about like, oh, here's a tier 3 gem that's like 80 GP more than the other tier 3 gems. Extreme exaggeration of that, but I'm looking at updating those.
Yeah, I've listed a few gems that are quite bad in that case. Especially jet and quartz are too high
Just to
priced.
confirm, was my wording there correct? Not sure if I missed anything. Convo moved a bit fast.
Just going down. But you can use for faction. Yes, faction
and
benefits.
apply modifiers to pit fighting unless they last an hour or more, or specifically affect downtime.
Correct.
Not just pit fighting, just downtime in general.
Downtime in general can only be applied if it specifically affects downtime or the benefit lasts for an hour or longer. In terms of your...
Or we'll just have a list of things that can affect downtime.
Yeah, we're just going to do that. In terms of your...
We're doing this to all downtime?
Yes.
All downtime.
Okay.
We're just going to have at the very top of the downtime page, these are the benefits that will apply. In terms of your faction listing, you can use equipment from any faction. Yes. Faction benefits can only be applied from one faction at a time. Changeable on upkeep. Yes. Structures will be from faction structures while in the region of that faction, or the regions that are listed in that benefit. Some like probably the Inquisitor faction
good to me.
will list
I'm gonna drop
Alderia
a note
Borussia.
about this in Econ to drop as a mini patch.
Yeah. Basically, they'll list what they work for. So, but yeah, those all look good for the faction listings. That's really old channel. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, 13 minutes or so. Anything else on factions before we move on? Or downtime? Wibbly wobble upkeeps, then we adjust or move on to travel encounters?
Just for downtime, I haven't really had the chance to look over the sewing rumors and several other downtime things, but just as a note for people listening, those are likely going to change.
Yeah.
The numbers provided on them are going to change.
Yeah. So
FYI.
probably do that.
Numbers on what?
Sowing rumors, probably blackmail as well. Likely, most of the political stuff I would say are subject to change. As Pi has got more time available to them, they are able to look at them now properly as political head. They've been out for a while now without Pi being able to look at them, so we've just been using what I thought was a decent value, but obviously they're not appropriate. So probably won't be changing unless a hotfix is needed, which will be based upon what Pi says, but they will probably be changing if a hotfix is not needed by next downtime drop. So the current rules are still in place if we do use any of them, unless a hotfix is needed, in which case, as soon as the hotfix drops, anyone from hotfix date forward will be using the new rules. Yeah. So any political downtime subject to change. That's just a blanket thing for people. Anything else on that list that we're needing before we move on to travel? All right. For travel encounters, they are currently in effect. I know that we have regions that have specific regional effects, such as there's bandits in Eldiria, there's some weird wibbly wobbly stuff in Arlogus that will cause encounters to occur. Those are additions to the system whenever traveling from region to region using the travel downtime activity. If you're at a fast pace, an encounter check will be made. The encounter check is based upon there's one encounter roll per region that you've hopped. So if you're from Arlogus and you're going from Arlogus to Borussia, you'd roll once for Eldiria, once more for Borussia. The encounter can occur in any point between those region hops, so it can occur from anywhere in Arlogus to Eldiria. Generally, we'll roll them whatever region that you're closest to. So if you're like in the heart of Arlogus as your last RP location, and you're trying to travel to the border of Eldiria, then we'll probably roll it for Arlogus encounter. If you're at the edge of Arlogus for your most recent RP location, we'll probably roll Eldiria. And then same thing, once you hop from Arlogus to Eldiria, you're trying to travel from Eldiria to Borussia, we'll just roll from Eldiria, probably, because you're at the border of Eldiria. But it's really more of a where were you last RPing for what region you're having the encounter. And it's just once per region, once per travel. And it will have various additions to or modifiers to the chances based upon what's going on in the region. So like the bandit stuff in Eldiria has increased the odds of an encounter occurring just because of the spiciness of them. Normally the encounter chances is pretty low. For like any main road, it's going to be about a 5% for a good encounter and about a 15-20% for a bad encounter. Generally leaning towards 15% for most regions. But because there's bandits, it ended up being about 50% for an encounter to occur. And this is only on a fast pace, or fast pace. Unless there's a region-specific update. So like Eldiria's bandits, saying that there's bandits there means that regardless of how you travel from region to region, if you're passing through Eldiria or passing into Eldiria, and you would trigger an encounter for Eldiria, you're rolling for an encounter because of the bandits. Same thing for Arlogus because of the weird wibbly wobblies going on there. Any questions, things to note while I go read Nomad Council on that?
Not on this topic, at least for me.
I have bandits made from levels 1 through 8, I believe. Were golden. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. The encounter table that I've given people in balance discussions is very vague, as it's not biome based. But I'll be working on a biome based encounter tables as well, which will help flesh it out better. Right now, it's like the encounter I rolled for the Skysworn stuff that they're doing right now in High Shape. It gave me a environmental hazard, which was a windstorm. Started off as just like a bit of rain, but because they were at +2 to the degrees of difficulty, it turned into a
What I
windstorm.
mean by we hadn't fleshed out the bandits encounter table is that we originally were thinking of it as an internal thing, not a modifier to this downtime, so I was surprised by it happening.
No. I just saw that in the regional effects for Eldiria there was bandits going on, so I was like, that's increasing the chance of encounter. So, if that was not the intention, that's my bad.
Yup. Good to have it cleared up. It's fine for now.
Yeah, I think that should be noted in any future additions for things like that, is whether or not it affects travel downtime or encounter chances. So when I see that there's bandits in a region, I'm like, yeah, it's definitely increasing encounter chance. 100% right there. It's like any highway, they're going to be on the road watching for people that they can jump. That's just how bandits work. But that's just notable. But the table that's in balance discussions is vague on purpose, as it has a level range, so you know that, hey, this is an encounter for a monster encounter, a combat encounter. It's dealing with creatures levels 1 through 2. So basically 1 to 2 encounter. Probably bandits of like low little nothing or whatever bandits.
Yup, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's good that we've already got the table since that makes things easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when the biome-based encounter table comes out, you'll see things. So if you do trigger an encounter check for, like the previous example of monster encounter levels 1 through 2, you'll then be able to roll an encounter table of here's the different monsters you could find in this biome for this region. Here's a Deer Hunted roll. Hey, you rolled a 73, you're fighting a bunch of wild dogs. Or you rolled a 52, you're fighting a bunch of bandits. Or you rolled a 17, you're fighting a shocker lizard that's particularly angry. Yeah, things like that. Just random things will be on the list of what would be common for this level range for this biome. That's something I've been working on, but it's definitely not ready. Because it also ties into the update for travel, which goes on to here's the base rules for all the highways, but if you want to travel through a specific region to get to where you want to go, you can travel there. It might make it faster, it might make it slower, it might make it safer, it might make it more deadly. So that's an update I've been working on, which plays into some other stuff. I'm also trying to make travel less complicated in my update, but again, that's not a focus of mine right now, so it's not making very good progress. But it's noted. Anything else? Anyone would like to bring up things to discuss, things to note down?
The only other thing I can think of is just a question on how the changes to spell research and stuff is going, because that hasn't been pushed through yet.
Yeah. I believe we hotfixed it with the times are halved. So any time it takes to do something would just be halved.
Was that posted actually?
I remember seeing it in chat. Was
It's
it
part of
hotfixed?
the eclipse, but it's not.
Oh, it was the
the
eclipse effect.
hotfix.
It was the eclipse.
And
Okay.
Yeah.
It was supposed to go live before the
No,
last update.
The explanation of what happened with the encounter table clarified what's up with Eldaria encounters.
That's right. That's why I saw the 50% reduction.
Also for spell research modifier has a temporary fix, but we still need to fix up the underlying system.
Yeah. I know I sent it to Smith to look at. I have not looked at their updates yet, but I also
Soft
haven't been paying
posted a
attention.
write-up. Ladder indicated interest too.
Nice.
Please do it sooner rather than later because this is a class's core feature for advancement, and it's one of the few that's actually tied to downtime days, and we've already had one downtime day progression happen without it getting changed.
All right. I'll make sure that's a priority for myself then to go through it and apply it. Because there's a lot of discussion in the balance discussion channel
We
for
have
that.
until the next time period to fix it at least.
I just haven't
For
posted
now,
yet.
it's half days needed.
Yeah, for the eclipse, it did definitely help, I feel.
Yeah, a lot of opinions, but I shouldn't be talking about my player side stuff here.
No. I believe your biggest issue in terms of balance has been tied towards the cost, correct?
The cost and the amount of days that it just takes for a core class feature that's like central to Wizards being decent.
Yeah. Well,
just so heavily tied to downtime days.
Yeah, I mean, for the downtime days, the reduction in time by 50%, I think is pretty good for right now. Just until we get the full update out.
I don't think so, but
I mean, time wise was an issue, so it's pretty good adjustment while we work on the actual update.
It's still an exorbitant amount of days.
How much are we talking?
Done. That's 15 days for a third level spell still, without other modifiers.
Well, you're talking about researching a spell that you don't have access to, period.
Yeah, but that's still like the major barrier for Wizards right now.
I mean, if you're doing it something from like you're getting a new level, then it's pretty much instant. If you're talking about something that like, oh, I have a scroll, it's pretty quick too.
That those scroll prices are astronomical, and getting it into your book is astronomical as well.
I mean, in a home game, how often do you get spell drops?
When I've played Wizard before, quite often. Like DMs tend to be a lot nicer about it, and we're also with the updates to like Sorcerer and Cleric, who get a lot of spells and just spells prepared. It's putting Wizards far behind.
I mean, I feel like the update to Wizard was pretty spicy. The Wizard Unchained?
Sorcerer and Wizard are about the same right now until we start getting into level 6 and 7. And Sorcerer hasn't gotten an update outside of their spell list thing.
We'll definitely have to come back to this just due to the time limits, but I'll keep an eye on it.
Post about
the main concern here is wanting Wizards to have access to more spells.
Yeah.
Well, they have access to more spells. They just think that having to buy a scroll is far too expensive, or spending an absorbent amount of days is too expensive for gaining access.
Against other classes who get stuff like this for free, it's really hard for Wizards right now.
Well, I have a lot of opinions on this. I think it's best for a long-term discussion, something that's probably going to take like 30, 45 minutes to complete.
Probably.
Which
I will say, just out of numbers that were mentioned right now, a third level spell is, on average, with the 50% reduction, the amount of days for it is literally half of our average downtime day drop. So.
That's fair. Definitely we'll need to look at it. Probably reduce it maybe like 3 per at base, so it'd be 1.5 currently, but definitely something to look at. But I have opinions. I imagine other people have opinions, and I think by next Sunday we should have a very long discussion on this. Maybe on Hotfix Wednesday if people are around for that. But
I had my write up on the whole issue I posted over a month ago.
Yeah. I did read through that. I said I was working on things. If you have new numbers since then, feel free to post again, and I'll read through the new post.
outside of the 50% reduction we have right now, there's not been any changes since
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. So
Philosophy discussion, I guess, but a static GM giving out spell scrolls to discover could probably fix that up. Thematically feels like it's probably hard to find new spells and learn them fully, but it comes down to styles from an initial view.
let's see here. I'm just looking at the values. Yeah. Regardless, something to discuss for next week. Maybe Wednesday, so sooner than a week. Hopefully, we'll get that out by next week, based on our discussion Sunday. That way, the Eclipse
Yeah,
thing will still be
it's a good
benefiting and
topic to
whatnot.
discuss.
Definitely. Because I would like people who have been waiting for this update to be able to use their days from this current downtime drop, because that was the intention. Just time is fucking limited, man. So
Yeah, just the more time this takes, the less time Wizards have for
yeah,
getting
we're
their core
probably.
feature.
I would say we probably will have a hot fix when we do drop it, the update, wherein we'll allow a certain number of days for Wizards to just get some bonus spells, just so they don't feel as bad. Because this was intended to be out like 2 months ago. This update, 3 months ago maybe. I'd have to look at the times, but basically, I don't want to punish players because things have been slow and time has been difficult. But there'll definitely be a long conversation in this regard. Are you around, since this is something that's pretty close to heart for you, Zach? Are you around for Wednesday? Would you want to have a hotfix meeting?
I have classes on
Gotcha.
Wednesday.
Gotcha. All right. Well, in that case, probably next Sunday then for this meeting. That all said, though, before we close out, have you looked at the times I asked you about a while ago, Legacy, in terms of alternate days for our meetings? I wouldn't say quite like that, Pi, but it's similar, which
I
is
have a
why it's got a long
reaction
discussion.
post back in one of the meeting channels. I'll check again,
Cool.
but I'm pretty sure Sunday was most preferred. Saturday after that. I'll check again after,
Yeah.
but I had one more question for modifiers.
Shoot your questions. Yeah, my main thing is that weekends tend to be difficult for me, hence why the question is there. But I can still make it work. It's difficult. It's a long conversation.
Sorry was responding.
Yeah, it's a long
The
conversation.
modifier thing.
Yes.
1 hour.
1 hour? Modifier to what? What are you
Does
referring
this
to?
mean that a downtime can only be modified by effects that last for an hour, or an effect that you can roll multiple times that lasts an hour? I know the intention, so this is mostly a wording thing so players aren't confused.
We're going to have a listing on the downtime page of what can be affected or what can be used. Generally, if it lasts for an hour or longer, it will be applied. If it's just a one and done, hey, you can use this roll on a skill. So, like the psionic dice, psi dice, you can use those at any point to affect a roll, your next d20 roll that you use them on. That doesn't last an hour. That's just your next roll. So those would not be allowed because they do not. The benefit does not last for a full hour. It's just one and done, quick use.
Okay, I think I know how to phrase this.
Yeah.
Yeah, having a list would be best, Imo.
Yeah, we're gonna have a list. All right. Anything else would like to bring up? Things to discuss? Yeah, Lucky would also be disabled for downtime. In terms of factions, the Arlogus ones, I believe, are not finished. So you're looking at Arlogus, factions of Arlogus, the Changing Seasons, and the Tireless Guides. I believe both of those are not updated. Let me just go make sure.
I think Changing Scene's been updated.
Oh, right.
Does not look to be updated now.
Oh, now I remember what I was going to say. As a note, I'm working on getting the various region laws into a neat list to throw them on World Anvil for people that are listening.
Oh, it is updated. Never mind.
Most
Woohoo.
of those will probably be ready probably within 2-3 weeks, something like that, I would say.
Nice.
Yeah.
Alright, you are right. Changing Seasons is updated. So the Tireless Guides is not. And then in terms of Ildiria, we're looking at Templars, the Mercenary Company, and I believe the Tyros Academy. Let me go make sure. So yeah, Templars are not. The Mercenary Company is not either. Same with the Academy. So the only Eldiria faction that's updated is the Skysworn at this point in time. Other than that, it's changing. Is the I always forget the fucking name of this faction. Goddamn. Tireless Guides. Sorry, those four. All Dolders, all Prussians, all remaining ones should be done. All right. Anything anyone else would like to bring up? Things to note down. Certainly fair. Certainly fair. Yeah. I mean, we might just need to have a public Wednesday meeting call or something like that where I can pop into a Discord call and discuss with the community itself and any staff member who wants to join in too.
Town halls are great.
Yeah. But
So long as they aren't mandatory.
with my experience of those in Andorra, they're not that great. It turns into a lot of community complaining about certain aspects and trying to get what they want to invoice, and it can get to very high tensions very quickly.
Fair enough. I'll just keep it to the suggestion box then. Yeah. Regardless, though, anything else you'd like to discuss? Things to note down? All right. Cool. I'm gonna drop the recording here then. Appreciate everyone's help, all that good stuff, all the things you've been working on and whatnot. I'm gonna drop the recording here and